You're watching the Sports Central Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Central Podcast. I'm Jaime Maggio with five-time NBA champion Derek Fisher. Derek, it's so great to see you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it, man. Looking forward to hanging out a little bit.
How you been?
Good. Been busy. Good busy, which I enjoy. But the family's doing well. I'm healthy. My wife and children, my parents, health is so important, and don't take it for granted. So I'm happy to be here.
Health
sure.
is wealth, no doubt. Before we started rolling, we were talking about ACL injuries,
right.
And you never had one as a player.
No, and I don't plan to have one as a post player either. So if anybody out there says Derek Fisher tore his ACL playing basketball, it's not true.
So you're not hooping that much anymore.
No, I'll demonstrate a little bit. I'll try and show our kids at Crespi how to do certain things, but I don't need to prove anything at this point. I'm good.
All right. Well, how are you staying in shape then? What's the choice now?
I essentially don't eat. That's pretty much the only way.
For being honest,
Yeah,
I know.
that's
As
the
you get
best
older,
way.
it's harder.
That's the best way to stay in shape. But no, just remaining busy, staying active. Try to walk a few miles
on the golf course.
Keep myself moving. The golf course are additional. Those are additional steps.
If you're using a
those
cart,
are bonus steps.
It doesn't help. Okay.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't help. But I still track them. I get a pretty good amount of steps on the golf course.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
All right. So you've cut down on the eating, but what's your ultimate cheat day meal?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like it's almost like the dessert part.
Oh, you're a sweet tooth guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be, whether it's a healthy meal or even if it's burger and fries, whatever it is, but it's when I decide to do a dessert, some type of chocolate brownie with vanilla ice cream, something. I like the warm, cold contrast.
Yes.
That hits the spot for me. That's when I know I'm locked in and I'm having a good cheat day.
Good for you. Do you have a birthday special cake that you do every year, or?
No, but I'm from the South, so red velvet cake, peach cobbler, those types of things, pecan pie, those are kind of.
A la mode.
Yes.
Gotta have the ice cream. Yes.
A la mode, mandatory.
Yes. So when you're introduced, are you always introduced as five-time NBA champion Derek Fisher?
In a lot of places, yes, which is still kind of surreal to me.
Stop it.
I was there. I played a significant role in the titles, but to be honest, I remember Kobe he was doing an interview, and he said, if that's the only thing that people will remember me by, I didn't do a good enough job.
Ooh.
And so that's what I think about a lot, which, some of the things we were discussing earlier, it's why other things are so important to me. I don't want people to only know me as that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Since you mentioned Kobe, he at one point said that you were his favorite teammate.
Yeah. I wish he was still physically here to explain in detail exactly what that meant for him. People have told me some of the things he said as to why. But when you think about all the great players and people that he could have chosen and said, whatever the reasons were he chose me, I'm humbled by. And I do not let a day pass without feeling that was truly special. The relationship we had as teammates was amazing.
Wow, so it's not something that you ever got to ask him about? No,
because I saw it in terms of content. It was on an interview, and then people were sharing it with me. But when I would see him, I wouldn't ask him about, why'd you say that on that interview that one time? It was just, and then obviously you never imagine you won't get to ask people a question.
I know.
And so it's we should ask the questions now. We
Totally.
should, say the things that we care most about saying. Don't disturb Jamie while she's at dinner or lunch, with her family, but still, ask the questions and say what's on your mind.
I think that's, first of all, it's such a high compliment because of all the great players that Kobe has played with, whether it be, Laker teammates or USA teammates, things like that. But he could be pretty critical. So that's even more so a tremendous compliment.
Yeah, no, his relationship with some of his teammates is well documented. But I think he and Nick Saban, which I know they became close. They had a comment around not getting along with like lazy or mediocre people. They don't like high performing people. They don't like people that are highly motivated and obsessed about doing it right and focusing and paying attention to details. And so that's where we shared a lot of common ground. His talent was otherworldly compared to mine, but we found a common ground in our attention to detail and the fact that we only cared about one thing, and that was bringing trophies home to Lakers fans and as many times as we could.
You brought 5 of them.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite of the 5?
I don't.
Really?
Because, and I was laughing. A guy asked me the question not too long ago, and I was like, "You don't have kids, do you?" And he was like, "No, I don't." And I was like, "Yeah, because that's like asking which of your kids are your favorite kid." And so on camera, you have to say no. But off camera, we can talk about which one was.
Well, I'm going to show you this real quick. First of all, did I get ripped off? Is this really your signature? Because I bought this at a charity event one time.
Oh wow! No, that's it.
Does that look like yours?
Yeah,
okay,
me.
good.
I mean, that's a heck of a trace job if it's not me.
Which ring was this?
Funny story. Well, not so funny. You're gonna make me cry. We did not win the championship this year.
Oh shoot!
So no,
that's
seriously,
my bad.
All good, but it's the one moment that so many people have a visceral, strong response to.
Yeah.
They remember where they were, what they were doing, who they were with, what they were wearing, who said what. So I talk about this moment a lot, but it's a reminder of how important failure is in life.
That's such a Mamba mentality.
Because we
right
didn't win the title this year. And so sometimes we have these moments, even the way people think about celebrities, they think it's overnight. And there's really so many years of disappointments and things that happen that people don't remember or they don't appreciate. And it all leads to these great things that are going to come down the line. So we don't win this year. The whole team breaks up. I leave, Shaq leaves, Phil leaves. Everybody leaves. And then come back to the Lakers in 2007 and we go on another title chase for a few years.
So because this is iconic in your career, iconic in the history of the NBA, really. So is this like a sore subject in some ways for you?
Not the moment. This was my first game winner in the NBA. So I used to have a hard time celebrating the moment because it did remind me of us losing to the Pistons in the finals. But, I'm 50, I'm still growing up. But I learned how to appreciate more moments and celebrate the small successes. And so I still can smile and enjoy this moment and what we all shared as a team without having to think about the negative. I was just talking to a kid earlier on our team about we tend to focus so much on the negative as athletes and coaches. And there are all these positive, amazing things that have happened that for whatever reason, we try to throw them out. So we have to remember the good stuff too. Do
you remember faces? Do you people remember this moment where they were watching the game, who they were watching it with? Do you remember? Do you remember because some people talk about I blacked out.
Yeah, no, honestly, I don't remember faces. When I saw this image, and there are some images where you can see the faces of the fans. This one is kind of blurred out a little bit. But as I was looking back at the image and I'm seeing the faces of each individual person, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
What's also crazy, I do not remember, is this person. So as you can see how, he's literally almost in my jersey.
Yeah.
I did not see him because all I could think about was catching the ball. I had to catch it at the right time in the right place, and then my eyes went straight to the basket. So I never saw anything else other than ball and basket, and that's probably why I went in.
I love that. What a great background. And I'm just glad that I actually bought something with an authentic signature.
Yeah, no, that's legit right there, for real.
Good deal. Yeah,
Yep.
this is D Fish. This is the only real signed sports memorabilia I keep in my office here.
Oh man, thank you for.
I was Fish is coming in. I gotta bust that out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll have to get you one where we actually won the title, and then we'll be okay.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
So we talked about Kobe being a little prickly sometimes and just demanding a lot of his teammates. With the Shaq-Kobe beef, did you have to choose sides with that?
No, I really didn't. I loved both of them equally. I loved each of them for who they were. And that's why I think they allowed me to lead them in the ways that I did. They led us in terms of performance and dominance, and like I don't have anything really without the greatness of those two guys. But I didn't choose sides, and I think that's why my relationship with Kobe remained what it was and is, and my relationship with Shaq remained what it was and is, because they always knew I was choosing winning. So I could really care less who was right or who was wrong.
Yeah.
Let's just meet back at the winning part.
Right.
So, okay, you could be upset about what he's doing, or he could be upset about what you're doing. But ultimately, your responsibility to me and to the rest of us in this locker room is to find a way to win still. And that's the only way I feel like it worked. And to me, that's what whatever people perceive it to be, that's what it was about. Sometimes disagreeing on what it was going to take to win. You may think we have to do it this way, and I may think we have to do it a certain way that's different than yours. We can agree to disagree, and to both of their credits, they led 3 teams to NBA championships together, and I think we should focus on that more.
Yeah.
We tend to want to focus on what didn't happen, but there are not a lot of duos that have won 3 titles together. It's a pretty short list.
They did okay together.
Yeah.
Did your time alongside Shaq help prepare you for high school basketball in terms of level of maturity?
No.
I can say that because Shaq would be fine with me saying that.
Yeah, no, Shaq, I think what did, Shaq's personality and his sense of humor.
Like no other.
The brevity, how light he would make the locker room feel at times. But there was still that insatiable desire to dominate and win that made him also special. Like he could do both. A lot of guys can't do both. They can't be Shaq and then when the game starts, get 38 and 18.
Right.
They can't do both. He could do both. And so preparing for high school, it's almost like there are ways to allow these young people to enjoy it and have fun and not tell them they have to be so serious all the time. But yes, if you want to get to where Shaq got to, if you want to use those types of examples from guys that accomplished a lot, there is a time where, similar to a classroom, there's a time to lock in and be serious about what you're about to learn and experience. And that's what young players have to understand. And I feel like Shaq was able to do that. He had all the fun in the world, but when that game started, or when he knew we needed him to be focused, he was always there and ready.
What about Phil?
Yeah.
Got a good Phil story?
I mean,
got a couple of them?
There's tons of Phil stories. I think the biggest thing about Phil is how I didn't know anything about sage when.
Like sage, like burning sage?
Yeah. I knew nothing about sage.
Do you use sage in your home now?
I don't use it, maybe as to add to a recipe.
Right.
But I knew nothing about sage. And so one day I walk in the locker room before a game, and he would do this at the practice facility as well. He would be there really early. Most of the time, coaches are normally there really early. And then myself or Kobe or vice versa would be also one of the first ones in the building. So I'm walking in to the locker room, and Phil's just walking through with a big roll of sage. It's burning, and he's just the whole locker room. And again, I knew nothing about sage. And I knew nothing about cannabis at that time either. And so I was confused for a few minutes because I couldn't tell.
Maybe the cannabis was happening and then the sage came to cover it up.
Yeah, right, maybe so. But I just think Phil's ability to, when you are really, really good at something, like he was elite at coaching basketball and being a leader, but he found ways to elevate and allow other people to be celebrated and become great and become all-time greats under his purview or supervision. And I think that's what says the most about Phil. Like, he could come across at times self-centered or that it's about him. But when you really stop and think about it for a while, so much of what he did was about creating success for others and putting other people in position to be successful. And when you think about Michael Jordan, you think about Scottie Pippen, you think about Steve Kerr, you think about Kobe, Shaq, Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, all those guys were coached by Phil Jackson. And to think about all that those guys have accomplished, I'm not saying it doesn't happen without him, but the role he played in helping each of those guys form who they are, he deserves a lot more credit, I think, than what he gets sometimes. I think we've kind of forgotten how great he was.
I wonder if he looks and follows the success that his tree, whether it be from players and coaches, has gotten and received and is proud of that.
Yeah, I hope so. I owe him a reach out to find out.
Have that conversation.
Yeah, and it's been on my brain a lot, on my heart. Things didn't end, I don't want to say well in sport. Like, coaches get fired in sports all the time. It's not about getting fired. I think there's a different way we could have come to a place where it ended. But we should talk about it. And the last thing I want to do is for anybody else in our tree or in our lives that intertwined the way they did. I don't want any one of us to not be here anymore before we try to have those conversations. Like, we lost Kobe at the wrong time. There is no time to lose anybody, but while we're still here, we should have those conversations.
Do you feel like there are things left unsaid with Kobe?
Yeah, I think so, and probably more personally than basketball-wise, because I think as so many, whether it's athletes or folks that have worked in a particular industry or space for a long time, transitioning out of that is hard. Like, what am I gonna do next with my life? How do I transition into something else? This is all I've been doing for the last 25 years or 30 years. And he seemed to find a way to create a transition that he was enjoying and that he was happy with. And I think having those types of conversations would be fun.
Right. Like post playing career, like sit down like grown men.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just talk about life and kids and fatherhood.
Yeah.
Being a husband, maturing in life, and having an identity outside of just, being a great sportsman. Like, that's only a fraction of who you are. And so those would be pretty fun conversations over I don't know if he was probably tequila, wine, cigar. We figure out some combination.
What's your vice?
Basketball, unfortunately. But no, I love a good glass of wine. I'm not really big with like mixed drinks too heavy. But I'll do a glass of wine. I prefer red, but a good glass of white is solid. And then if I do have a mixed drink, it's probably tequila based.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'm envisioning vacation Derek having a good time.
Yeah. Kicking back, not moving around too much. Definitely not tearing my ACL on vacation. No pickleball tournaments for me.
Do you play pickleball?
No.
Okay.
No,
everybody plays pickleball.
I'm good.
You're not on that train. You're just golf. Golf is your jam.
I'm healthy. I have no reason to make dynamic, explosive movements in that way.
Talking about, life after basketball, right? Like, you have a very successful, obviously, career in the NBA. You get into broadcasting, you get into coaching, you get into ballroom dancing a little bit.
Yeah.
Dancing. What have you enjoyed the most? I mean, and is there anything else on the horizon for you? Are there things that you want to get into that you haven't had time to yet?
That's a great question. I think the Dancing with the Stars ballroom dancing thing, I think I had never stepped outside of my comfort zone
like that
in that way. Yeah. And when I really stop and think about it, I have to give it a lot of credit for kind of a shift in life.
Really?
Because I played until 2014. I went right into coaching the Knicks, and then I'm fired in 2016, and then Dancing with the Stars is 2017. And so my entire adult life had been professional basketball. You only see life through this one lens. And so it forced me to look at myself differently. There are more people that knew me from there than my basketball journey even. And the funny thing with Dancing with the Stars, my partner, Shauna Burgess, she tried to tell me, don't get caught up too much in trying to win the dance competition, because it's really about allowing people into who you are.
Wow.
It's really what the show is about. And I wasn't as ready for that. So that's why they sent me home. So
No, you lasted a few rounds.
yeah, no, I mean, the dancing part wasn't that bad.
Do you still know your routines?
A couple of them. But again, my knees feel better now than they did with all those hours of rehearsal.
I'm sure. Talk about taking care of your body is obviously such an important thing as a professional athlete. And the longer we go, the more advancements there are. And these players are, they're learning how to eat, they're learning how to recover.
Yeah.
LeBron, do you look at LeBron, like when seeing him play, like how long do you think this guy could possibly go?
I mean, it looks to be his choice, which is what all athletes want.
Yeah.
They want to finish their careers on their terms. And it looks like LeBron's going to be able to do that. The level he's still performing at, I don't see any reason why he can't do that for another 2 or 3 seasons. But, the choice that he makes to put that much time in to stand ready each season, there is a point of diminishing returns there. And he seems to be aware of it. Like, he'll know when he just isn't as willing to put that time in. And so sometimes people ask, like, do you think he's going to have a farewell tour and do the whole thing? And I don't know if he's going to do that, because I think his decision is made before the season on whether or not he's going to go into the season. So if he decides in July he's in, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be his last year, because he's not going to make that decision again until the following offseason.
Right.
So I don't know if we're going to get an announcement that this is the last year. I think he loves it too much to know in advance that it's his last year.
But don't you think he'd want the swan song?
I don't know. I mean, what other songs does he need?
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
He's won 4 titles. He's going to be first in every statistical category we could measure probably by the time his career's finished. I don't know if he needs people to tell him how great he is anymore. But sure, do the fans maybe need that opportunity? Maybe he'll do it for them. I don't think he needs it for himself, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've stayed close to the game, whether it be broadcasting, coaching, being an ambassador for the NBA overseas. How closely do you watch the current game, and do you have some guys that you really enjoy watching them?
Yeah. Now, I'm a junkie. So I watch men's basketball, NBA. I watch women's basketball, WNBA, college. Obviously, watching a lot of high school film as well, and games. No, I think at the moment, and I'm biased because I played in Oklahoma City, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, to me, not just because he won the MVP, but you can always tell, like, it's like the Patrick Mahomes kind of vibes, right? Where you have a player that his individual greatness is like, recognizable. We know he's an all-time great, but how he makes his teammates feel tells us even more. And I think Shai has a lot of that about him. And it's why the team is doing so well, and they're on their way to the NBA Finals right now.
You played in OKC. Do you feel like if he was in a bigger market, he'd have maybe more attention around him? I mean, I feel like he's got a lot of attention, but I'm like
Yeah.
you, and I'm watching a lot of NBA.
Yeah, it's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know if he'd be more of a household name than he is now. I think the reason why maybe he isn't as much now is because that's not what he plays for. I don't think he's searching for celebrity or fame or stardom as an NBA player. I think he just wants to be great. And so even if he was in LA, he still would be the same guy. And that's what, to me, like makes him special and why I gravitate towards him, you know, in terms of watching him and the team play. But it's a fair question. I mean, anybody that has played for the Lakers for, you know, long enough, it's just it's different. You know, wearing the purple and gold is a completely different experience than it is anywhere else. So,
Why is that? History?
yeah, I think the history, the legacy, it's
The greatness? Yeah.
yeah, we've been indoctrinated with Lakers greatness for over 40 or 50 years. And so, you know, generations of people have come to know and expect greatness from what's happening in LA with the Lakers. And so it's different to me. You know, I was very fortunate to be a guy that played there for a long time. It's different now, and the NBA guys aren't there as long. And so I don't think they always get a chance to settle into what it means to really be a Laker and what that represents. But I think, you know, the team has done, in this environment, they've done as good a job as possible trying to. It's hard to have a player like LeBron that you have to win now, and then also build something that's sustainable over time as well. But the trade for Luka and kind of igniting the fan base again and creating some excitement about the future of the team, even after LeBron decides to move on, that was smart and well done by the front office.
Yeah, the trade for Luka. Is that why the Mavs got the #1 overall pick?
That's above my pay grade for sure.
Did it cross your mind for a moment?
No, I think you know the universe has a way
Patrick
of
Ewing,
you know,
Chris
yeah,
Paul.
It has a way of certain things happening that we think we know the answers to why, but we probably don't. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. All these teams that thought they were close to winning the title maybe weren't as close. We've seen injuries kind of decimating teams on both sides. But I think the finals are going to still be really entertaining. The Thunder are, to me, the favorite, but we'll see. Cooper Flagg's a pretty special guy, so wherever he went,
Okay.
He's a culture changer and shifter. So the fact that Mavericks got him, I'm happy because the president of the Mavericks is a friend of mine. He obviously took a lot of heat after the Luka trade. So I'm glad it worked out for him and for them. And I'm a fan of Jason Kidd as well.
So am I. Did you see those pictures that circulated recently of like a trimmed down Luka?
No, I haven't seen those.
It looks almost like a Photoshop. It looks really svelte.
Oh, okay.
He might be on the Derek Fisher don't eat diet.
Yeah, no, is he? I don't know where. I don't even. Does Luka go home in the off season, or I don't know what his normal
I haven't checked in with
plan
him
is.
recently.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people will always find reasons why you do or don't. I think part of what makes him great is he doesn't seem to care as much about what other people have to say. So whatever version of him that he wants to be, that's what he needs to show up as. And again, once you come to LA, it has to be about winning titles. And so if it means being a little bit of a different version of yourself in order to do that, that's something you got to be willing to do. And that's not just about weight or being in shape. It's about even how you play the game, what role you are willing to take on the team. It all has to be on the table for discussion because it's championships or not.
How important is it knowing your role? Like you played on some really stacked rosters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's got to be one of the hardest things for a coach to do is to manage egos when you have multiple Hall of Famers.
Yeah, that is the most challenging part of the job, I think, at the highest levels, is managing the personalities, managing the egos and the expectations, and the roles. Because everybody's not going to play as much as they would like to. Everybody's not going to have the type of role they would like to have. You just try to do the best job you can to remind them why we're doing this. I think Steve Kerr seems to have a good sense of it, and doesn't mean players are always happy. But the constant communication about why we're doing this, the sacrifices we all need to make and have to make to get to where we want to go, and that common shared goal and vision, that's what it has to be about. It's easier said than done. You know, when you know you're capable of doing more and somebody's asking you to do less on purpose, that's hard to accept sometimes, but you just got to find a way to tie it back to why, right? Why are you playing on a championship contending team? Because hopefully you want to win a championship. So whatever that takes to win, you got to be willing to do it.
You're talking about the purple and gold and what a special thing it is to have been a member of the Lakers family. Once a Laker, always a Laker, right?
Yeah.
With the rich history, we saw some TV shows in the last year or so come out.
Yeah.
Winning time. Do you watch those, and do you enjoy them? Is it entertainment value?
Yeah, I'm more of like the nonfiction or documentary style viewer.
Okay.
Not as much of, I know there was Showtime.
Wow, Winning Time?
Winning Time, yeah. Even
Running
the one on
Point
Netflix,
with,
that Jeannie's
Hudson.
involved in.
Yeah.
I'm not as into those. Like, I don't dislike them, but when you're telling a story that, like if there are people involved that I know or knew or have relationships with, like, I don't necessarily want to watch a souped up version of it. Like, I want to know what really happened.
Right.
And those shows don't necessarily speak to me in that way, so that's why I don't watch them. But the Hulu had one that was really Legacy, I think was what it was called. That was good, where it kind of went through the history of the organization and all the different players. I know the Celtics have one now that's more of a documentary style on HBO.
Are you watching the Celtics ones?
No. No. Good for them that they got a documentary. It's great, but I'm not watching it though. No.
Hate all things Boston?
Not all things, but
The Celtics, yes.
really close. I mean, I don't have anything against guys that are there currently right now. Joe Mazzulla's a great coach. Sam Cassell's a friend. I don't dislike those guys, but in terms of like the overall Celtics thing, I don't know. I wouldn't watch a documentary about it so much. Larry Bird, Bill Russell, greatness, Dennis Johnson, great players, but not a big Celtics viewer, if that makes sense.
Understandable. Speaking of some of those old heads, for you, coming up with the Lakers in your younger years, who that wasn't a teammate gave you some of the best advice as you were maneuvering through the NBA?
I never played with Magic. Lifelong fan of Magic. He's always been gracious, when we've spoken about not just things on the court, leadership off the court, in the locker room, and then as well as off the court in business and how to, manage being in LA and how you build relationships and connect with people. Magic was always great. Byron Scott and I only overlapped one season, my rookie season, Kobe's rookie season. He taught us a lot about how to be a pro and working hard and being a veteran guy. I'm trying to think of other guys that were here in LA that helped us along the way. Ronnie Lester, who used to work for the Lakers, I think he was on the scouting side, front office side. He was always great. And Dr. Buss himself, who wasn't a teammate on the court, but took a lot of pride in trying to help players that he really felt like wanted to know more from him. He was always really gracious with his time as well.
And not all ownership is that way.
No, they aren't. I think more sports owners are trying to do a better job of that. Historically, they had not been or weren't. And so I think it's what made Dr. Buss so special is that this was personal to him. It wasn't just a business. This was his life. And so he wanted the guys on the team to care about it as much as he did.
For you, and last question, because I know we got to wrap up, but for you, looking back on your Laker tenure, what is your most prized memory, moment, possession?
It's kind of a culmination of all the moments. Like, I don't know if, like, I think the parades kind of sum it up the most, right? And not just because it means we won, but I personally believe that when the Lakers win, the way this city comes together and are willing to kind of drop our differences and where we're from and what our backgrounds are and what little minor thing we got beef about, I just think the Lakers create a whole different energy for LA and Southern California than any other team. And there's no disrespect to the Dodgers, the Rams, the Chargers, all the other teams. Obviously SC, UCLA, there's great teams in Los Angeles, but there's nothing like seeing the way people feel when the Lakers are on top. And so just those visceral moments of seeing how happy us doing our jobs basically made people feel, to me, that's what it was all about. Like playing basketball was never about just playing basketball. It was really about creating a feeling for someone else that, like, when they watched you do what you do, they could take a great sense of pride in it. They could leave feeling inspired and a certain level of aspiration to watching us play. And so that's what I remember the most. Like, it's the feelings we created for other people. Like, that's what I'll take away from it forever.
How many people wanted to buy you dinner or dessert after winning a championship?
Get
me the red velvet.
I wish it was more, honestly. I don't quite remember getting a lot of meals purchased for me.
What was the best perk of being an NBA champion?
Yeah,
after the
exactly.
parade?
That's all you need. And then it's kind of like slowly over. There's some parties here or there, but for us, at least, you quickly kind of got back to like, well, I want to do this again.
Yeah.
I want to set my calendar for 1 year from now. Let's have another parade on the same day.
What did Phil say? Like, go and enjoy 2 weeks and then back at it?
Yeah, I think it depended on each guy.
Yeah.
How beat up you were, what did the season cost you, and then kind of figured out along the way. 2 or 3 weeks sounds about right, but the summers were short when you play that long. When you play to Father's Day, you may get through 4th of July, and then you need to start preparing your mind and body to do it all over again. And that's what makes the journey so special.
Derek Fisher, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to catch up with you.
Thanks.